All right, hopefully you have already watched the music video, and if the music video did not make sense to you, please watch it again and read the words very carefully. The man actually is saying some pretty good and important things about adding and subtracting integers. But here are some problems like you'll see on your practice. I drew a little picture to represent what's happening here. Omar is riding in a bike race that goes through a valley and a nearby mountain range. The table gives the altitude in feet above sea level for the 5 checkpoints in the race. Use the table to answer the questions. So here's the sea out here. It is at sea level. We generally call that 0, just like on a number line. And then checkpoint 1 is at 743 feet above sea level. So notice that we have come above that 0 mark. We can make a little chart here. This is not to scale. Okay, and then checkpoint 2 is actually below the level of the sea. It is at negative 129. And checkpoint 3 is even lower still. It is at negative 178. And then there's another checkpoint. We go down the valley and up the mountains, and we get to this checkpoint 4, which is up here 2,072 feet above sea level. And then finally we get to this top place, which is another checkpoint 5 at 3,245 feet above sea level. So the first question says the top of a hill rises 375 feet above checkpoint 3. So not above sea level, but above checkpoint 3. Checkpoint 3 is negative 178. And so we want to see the altitude at the top of the hill. That is, let's say maybe the top of the hill is over here, and it rises like that. And let's say this is the top of the hill where that's in question, and here's where we're going from, and we want to go up 375 feet. Up 375 feet. So notice that we're going to use up some of our 375 feet getting to 0, right? And then we're going to have some left over that's going to get us to this mark. So let's subtract or add negative 178. We're going to add 375, and that will give us the number where the checkpoint is, right? So when we have a negative and a positive, we're going to cancel out basically all of this and see what's left over, because we're using up this amount just to travel up to the 0. So when we have two different signs, we actually subtract. You can put the bigger number on the top. The bigger number is always going to have the sign that your answer has. So notice we're going to be above 0, and so our answer is going to be positive. And our answer is going to be 197. Enter that in just a second. All right. Then it says how much higher is checkpoint 2 than checkpoint 3? We're just comparing them. We're just going to compare checkpoint 2 to checkpoint 3. And in our picture, you can see that there's a little difference right here. We actually don't really care about positives and negatives at this point. We just want to know how far it is between the two. What is the difference between them, or how much higher is one than the other? So we can just do something like this: 178 minus 129 and we get 49, a difference of 49. So it's 49 between here, and we really don't need to show positive or negative because we're just showing the difference here. So let's go back and enter those before I forget that number. And here we want to enter 197. Let's see how we did. Great. And let's look at problem number 2. Use a number line to find the distance between -2 and 3. All right, so here they have helped us out here a little bit. This is -2 and this is 3. And it says use the number line to find the distance. So we can stand on this dot and then hop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. I just counted on the ticks, but don't count the one you start standing on. Or you could count between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so this number is going to be 5. And then it says find the differences involving -2 and 3 below. So if I have -2 minus 3 equals, what I want to do is I always want to change subtraction to addition. In order to change subtraction to addition, I can add the opposite. So I'm always going to change 2 times. Change, change. Again, listen to that video, and that song is going to tell you about this. So we're going to add this together. And so I have -2 and I have -3. And I am going to add those together and get -5. All right. Then here I have 3 minus a -2. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add the opposite. So I change, add the opposite, and 3 plus 2 is 5. And notice one of my answers was -5, and one of my answers was +5. Then notice what happens if we play with absolute value. So I have the absolute value of -2 minus 3, which I just did that above. It was the absolute value of -2 plus a -3, or the absolute value of -5. Absolute value just tells me to take off that negative sign. I only want to know the absolute value of it, not the positive or negative. So I'm going to actually get a +5. And then if I do the absolute value of 3 minus a -2, that's the same as what I did above. And we have the absolute value of 3 plus 2, which is the absolute value of 5. And the absolute value of 5 is the same thing as the absolute value of -5. And so I get this here. So notice what we're finding when we throw on this word absolute value. We're just saying we don't really care if we go in the negative direction or if we go in the positive direction. Okay, so in the negative direction would be I counted going this way, and then the positive direction would be I counted going this way, but it's the same distance. No matter which way I go, right? So whenever we're talking about distance, we definitely are talking about absolute value. So let's see, I'm going to go back and enter 5, -5, 5, 5, 5. Okay? 5. And then I'm back here entering my answers. 5, -5, 5, 5, 5. Check. Yay. And there are 2 examples. So you try some, see how it goes. Let me know if you have some problems with that or if it's great.